Welcome to episode 57 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football, shoot the breeze, and make even the replacement refs cringe. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man?
It's going to be a lot better, hopefully, moving forward now that we fixed this really dumb sound issue to some degree.
Yeah, and on that note, apologies to anybody that has tried to listen to past episodes, as I encourage you to do at the end of all of our episodes. We have been having a audio lag issue where my audio is just coming through faster than Joseph, so it sounds like I'm constantly cutting him off. So I just like to let you know that no, I am not that rude. It is in fact an audio issue, and we tried to we spent about half an hour tonight troubleshooting it, which is why we're an hour late, partly why we're an hour late to our show. So apologies for that, but I think we fixed the major issue. It had to do with the audio bit rate, and there may still be a minor issue where it may sound like I'm talking like right after Joseph is done saying what he's saying. And so that does not mean that I'm not giving thought to what Joseph's saying. It just means that there's that still a slight delay. So we're going to try to improve that sort of manually on the spot. I don't know if there's anything technically I can do to really fix that, but we'll do our best, and hopefully you guys can bear with us. So we are live right here on YouTube every Tuesday night during the NFL regular season and postseason. We try to be online at 8 p.m. Tonight we're at 9 p.m. Like, as I said, because of this audio issue, but we shoot to be on at 8 p.m. Pacific. If you like what you hear tonight, and want to support us, don't hesitate to like, share, and if you're feeling extra generous, subscribe. But of course, you can like, share, and subscribe even if you think you could run this show better than us, which you probably could because you may understand OBS better than I do. So this week we've got lots of stuff to go over, and we have all of our normal goodies. So we've got our game of the week, we've got our Rec Face segment, we've got our commentators say the darnest things, we've got our special tricky picks, we've got our predictions, but then we're adding a segment tonight called Do You Believe It? And I'm not going to explain what that is now. You're going to have to stick around to find out what it is. But it's a surprise news segment, and we're going to kind of do tonight's the trial run for it. We'll see how it goes. Let us know what you think of it, and we're thinking about implementing it maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks, and you'll understand why once we get there. So with all that being said, let's roll into our first segment of the night, which is our game of the week. And fortunately for everybody involved, the game of the week that we selected last week, which is Packers at Niners, was in fact a good game. And so we're keeping that for our game of the week discussion this week. So I will kind of take the lead on this because it is my team, and Joseph will have some thoughts, but I'm going to kind of parse out some of the issues and talk about the game. I didn't take the same kind of approach to discussing this week where I have kind of the quarter by quarter breakdown. Instead, I have more of high level thoughts about the game and some specific issues related to the Niners. And I wanted to tee up some discussion on certain things. So it's more going to be about, if you're a Niner fan, I think the way that I'm doing this discussion is a little bit more for you. And if you're not a Niner fan, then I think you'll appreciate kind of the more higher level angle that we're taking by looking at this game. So this was a field goal on the buzzer, 30-28 win by the Packers. The Niners decided to leave 37 seconds left on the clock for a 0 timeout Packer team after scoring a come from behind touchdown in the fourth quarter to go up 28-27. And as it turns out, when you're playing a MVP, Hall of Fame, top 5, top whatever quarterback of all time, if you leave 37 seconds on the clock, even if they don't have timeouts, he can burn you, and in this case, he absolutely did. And I do have one comment about that, which is, hey, you had 12 seconds left on the play clock when Jimmy threw that touchdown to Juice. They had 12 seconds on the play clock. If they had let the 12 seconds burn down, then the Packers would have only had 25 seconds in theory, and that would not have been enough for them to get down the field. Now, it is possible that instead of the two long throws that Rodgers took, maybe he could have done it in one. And with the way the secondary was playing, maybe he could have burned us for like a 50-yard pass. That's possible. Anything's really possible. But you'd like to think that if they had burned off all that time, that the Packers just wouldn't have had the time, given that they didn't have timeouts. Pretty much one tackle will mess that up for you. So if there had been a tackle, a sack, whatever, that would have shut the game down for the Packers. But instead, we decided to give them that extra time, and Rodgers does what Rodgers does, which is play like a top shelf quarterback when he needs to. So the other thing I was going to say is for everybody online saying that the Niners shouldn't have called, or that Juszczyk should have fallen over at the 1 yard line and not score the touchdown, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. You don't. There is no such thing as a guaranteed touchdown in the NFL. And if you have an opportunity to come from behind with that little time left on the clock, you take the touchdown and you trust your defense. Even though it struggled that night, you trust your defense to be able to burn 37 seconds off of a clock against a team that has no timeouts. So
yeah, that's a conflation of in my opinion, of the idea where you do that if you have the lead, or maybe kicking a field goal will win the game. You don't score, like that's happened with I think the Lions and the Falcons last year, right? Where what was his name? Who was the running back for the Rams that was really good for a couple of years? And
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, Gurley. The Falcons are up, and he tried not to score, but he did, and the Lions come back in like the last several seconds and they win the game. So you do that when you're already ahead, or maybe if you need a field goal to win the game. But yeah, you don't do that if you actually need to score a touchdown.
Right. Yeah, you always take the points that you know you need to get, and then you deal with whatever aftermath after that. So it was absolutely the fact that Juszczyk bowled over a couple of guys to get in the end zone. That's what he needed to do, and anybody blaming him just doesn't understand what you need to do in that situation. So I'm kind of starting from the end and going backwards, but that's okay since we're not really doing the quarter by quarter format tonight. That was kind of one of the main things I wanted to talk about. Now, that being said, that's actually kind of a praise of the way that Kyle Shanahan, cooked up that play and the way that the Niners handled that situation. Given how the game went, if you stopped watching at the end of the first half and then came back with 1 minute left in the game, you would have been very surprised that the Niners were down 27-21, knocking at the door to go ahead. The Niners did not look like a team that was ready to score any points, let alone score 4 touchdowns to take the lead against a Packers team that was kind of dominating them on both sides of the ball in the first half. And I knew from the very first drive, even though the very first drive was a punt, I knew from the first drive that the secondary was going to be problematic in this game. That pass to Lazard that just ran over K'Wan Williams and it was like a 40-yard gain or something. I was like, oh no, this kind of pass is going to happen all night. And indeed it did, just not to Lazard. It happened with Adams. Davante Adams shredded us, and we didn't have the guys to defend a number one receiver. We just don't have the corner with Verrett out, who's good enough to be able to handle someone like Adams. With him gone to the torn ACL, we had to rely on this stable of kind of average quarterbacks, average to below average quarterbacks, to defend some really good targets, and not only good targets, but also targets that have great chemistry with a top shelf quarterback. So it makes me worry about the next couple weeks. Cough, cough. Wilson, Lockett, cough. Murray, Hopkins, cough. But I guess we'll maybe whine and complain about that next week if they lose. But in this case, Josh Norman got hurt. Apparently he had like bruised lungs and was coughing up blood at the hospital. Like they took him to the hospital that night. I guess he's okay now, but they were talking about him playing next week, and I was like, give the guy a rest. Come on. We're not it's okay. You can rest for a few days and heal your lungs. We want you to be able to breathe and be healthy. You don't need to play. K'Wan Williams, calf strain, he's out for a few weeks. Dante Johnson was out for several plays because he got hurt. We are desperately ravaged at cornerback right now, and we're relying on third, fourth string guys. And it actually reminded me a little bit of the Miami game last year where what's his face? I'm going blank on the quarterback you guys had last year, the beard.
Patrick?
Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick just shredded our secondary because it was the practice squad secondary. And we had a practice squad secondary on Sunday night, and that's what happens. Like when you play someone that like a Rodgers. So I knew it was going to be that kind of night, and it was that kind of night. Now, what I wasn't expecting, and I even had told Joseph on the phone, was I was expecting our D-line to just dominate their O-line, and they did not. They barely got any pressure. They got one sack. Nick Bosa had a couple of good plays. He was actually pretty good in the run, but they had got no pressure on Rodgers. And Rodgers was able to get rid of the ball very quickly because his receivers were getting separation. For whatever reason, we decided to play man coverage, and all of their receivers were running faster than our corners. And we knew that going in, that our speed is just slower. I don't know why you scheme like that. And we got burned so many times, whether because of a catch or because of a pass interference call. And so when that kind of thing is happening, you have to dial up the pressure, right? And we weren't doing that. In fact, on those last two plays in the game, we rushed three. We rushed three guys to try to get to Rodgers, and we gave up we played a soft zone, and we got beat for 2 catches, which was just enough for them to kick a 51-yard field goal. So DeMeco Ryans he's a novice defensive coordinator for the Niners. We lost Robert Saleh to the Jets. He's now the head coach of the Jets. He got sent over there last season, signed with them last season, or at the end of last season. And there were some serious defensive scheming problems in this game that make me nervous. I feel like our talent is being squandered. I was listening to a 49er podcast this week where someone said, great analogy, said, DeMeco Ryans was given keys to a Ferrari. Please don't crash it. Right? And that's exactly how I feel, right? Fred Warner has been a 0 so far this year, and he is a top 5 linebacker in the league. What are they doing? He's not even been in coverage, hardly. And the soft coverage, the man coverage, the lack of pressure, I don't know what is going on, but we need to change our approach, and I hope this loss was a wake-up call that we need to scheme differently because we've got some tough games coming up. So I'm going to stop talking for a second, and I'm going to actually ask Joseph a couple questions.
Yeah.
Number one being, number one, first of all, how much of the game did you see? Did you end up seeing the whole thing, or at least highlights of the whole thing?
Yeah, I did highlights of at least 90% of the game.
Okay, good. So from what you saw of Jimmy's play, 2 questions. Number one, would you agree that the first half, or would you say that the first half was primarily his fault, the fact that we couldn't go down the field? And number 2, do you think we need to start giving Trey Lance more snaps?
Just to clarify, yeah, I had the game on the whole time, so I don't know how much of that I actually watched, but I had the whole game on. I did watch enough. Definitely answer your question. So, the first one, absolutely, he was a major one to blame for that. I did notice that he started to light up more in the second half, and the Niners were looking more solid. And so definitely agree. And then as for that next question, I don't know if I want to spoil it, but good time to bring up that article for the coming weeks.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so I'll quickly preface what Joseph's talking about, and then he can answer the question about Lance. So there was a good article written about this from Niners Nation, written about basically classifying quarterbacks based on these two statistics, and one of them was called BTT, which is big time throws, and the other one is TWP, which is turnover worthy plays. And basically what it is the any big time throw, which is I think there's like a certain yardage threshold, and then they assign a percentage based on the percentage of throws of the total number of throws that you've made that are big time throws. And then the TWP is basically turnover worthy, which could be maybe a really ill-advised throw that was saved by a receiver but should have been a pick, or actual picks. And then those are divided by your total, and you get a percentage. And in both cases, Jimmy's dead last of quarterbacks that were traded. I believe it was either quarterbacks that were signed or traded in the offseason.
I think it was ones that were available in free.
Well, they had Matt Stafford on the list, who
okay, never mind. You're right.
Was traded, but yeah, a lot of the guys were free agents. But yeah, it was basically guys that were moved, because I think the part of the point of the article was to say, hey, they could have gone for one of these guys, but they stuck with Jimmy. So how does Jimmy compare with one of the guys that they could have gone with? So we're going to talk about those stats and kind of discuss more in depth next week or at a later week, because I think it's an interesting discussion, not just about Jimmy, but about the kind of football stats and how people make certain judgment calls based on stats and stuff like that. But that being said, going back to the Trey Lance question, when do you think we need to start giving Trey Lance more snaps based on what you saw on the Sunday night?
So this one's tough, and I'll have to give more of the thoughts on the article. We said we would do that in the coming weeks, but this is tough because, guys, it's almost like you would want the following to happen. Either A, the rest of the NFC West is garbage, right? So that your relative strength is higher, so you have room to risk to see. Because the whole point is you want to be able to better compare the two, and you want to be able to know what you have. Because if Jimmy stays the same, right, then Trey Lance will most likely be the starter, no doubt, next year, right? If Jimmy stays the same, Lance is going to develop at his rates, whatever it is, and they'll probably go with Lance next year. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, how much do you want to give Lance a chance this year before that happens? It gets even more complicated if you consider trading Jimmy and getting value out of him, though I don't think he's worth too much. And the next question is, how much do you have to see him play so you can even make that judgment? So it's really tricky. So you either want the rest of the NFC West to be garbage relatively, or poor relatively, or you almost want the Niners to be like 0-3, so they could even have a motivation to see Lance. But they're stuck because the NFC West is the best division in football.
Yeah.
And the Niners have a running for it. Like, I don't think they're now just out of it just because they lost to the Packers. They may not win the division. I think the Rams can. But the Niners have a legit shot at a wild card, and it still can be a 10-11, maybe a 12-win team. So that's tough. That's a tough one. I would say that first, I would want to see them have specific packages for Lance, like they did with that rushing touchdown he had. To maybe have him in there for a whole series, right? maybe he goes in to start the third quarter. You let him play for a couple series and see how he goes, or like just to slowly start increasing that to where he's having 10, 15 snaps a game, possibly, whether they're rushing, handoffs, passing, whatever. And then the extreme could be, okay, during a blowout win or loss, he's now playing an entire quarter. But I do think it's good to get him, at a bare minimum, it's good to get him in there because he's athletic and he's raw to be used for design plays like Taysom Hill, regardless of him being the starter or not. And then in addition to that, you consider blowout wins or blowout losses and trying to add to give him more time, have better of a comparison of A, when do we put him in as a starter, or B, we're more comfortable with him as a starter next year. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, and I think those are some really good thoughts. I think that I agree that it's very tricky, and I think that they should be giving him at least 8 to 10 snaps, I think. And I think most of those should be, disguised runs and maybe a few throws. I don't think he has to run every play. I think what they did, the one where they put him in and then they had Juszczyk do the sneak for the first down, like that was a good play. I thought the design run touchdown was good. Part of the issue when they used him in week 1, he got stopped a couple of times for like a 1 or 2 yard gain, and the issue was that it was just really obvious that we were putting him in there just to run, basically like a running back. And when you do that, teams are going to be able to figure that out easily. So what they need to do, they need to disguise it, but they also need to make him throw a little bit so that teams really, when they put him in there, they really don't know what he's going to do, right? It's that mystery factor. So this season, I think he's better suited as more of a tool. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but like a tool in the toolbox, from a scheming standpoint. And then that'll give him, the experience will rack up, and then next season he'll be ready to start. I think the only situation in which realistically he starts over Jimmy is if Jimmy just totally falls apart. If the wheels completely come off in the next few weeks, say, then they'll bench him. But I think Jimmy still gives us a better chance to win if he gets some help from Lance. I want to see him more than we saw him against the Packers, and I think given that our running back room is also totally ravaged, I think having Lance come in to kind of breathe a spark in the run game is also a good idea. So I'd like to see more stuff like that. But I don't want to see him become like the interim bruiser back, right? Because he's just going to get hurt, and then where are we going to be then? So given our injuries at corner and running back, and this is my last comment for the game, then we're going to move on. Given the injuries at those two positions, I'm very doubtful that we're a deep in the playoffs team this year, especially given Shanahan's kind of insistence that Jimmy plays.
Sorry, say that again. You don't think you're what team?
A deep into the playoffs team this year. I don't think we are. Just we're too injured. And I don't think we have the quarterback situation squared away enough or at all to compete against the Allens and the Mahomeses and the Wilsons and the Murrays of the world.
But do you think you'll make the playoffs still?
I think if we can scheme a bit better on defense, and if we can bring in somebody at running back, like somebody that can just be healthy, I think we can make the playoffs. But it's going to be harder than I think everybody thought it would be to make it. But we'll see. Again, every year teams take a few weeks to kind of figure it out. I don't think the Niners should be having to figure things out, but they're sort of forced to because of the injuries. So there's still kind of a wait and see mentality with some of the players. But But it's just clear at this point that Jimmy doesn't give us, he does not give us that X factor that a lot of these other quarterbacks have to win games. So to his credit, we did come back and almost won, but he made enough dumb mistakes in the first half that we should have never been in that position. So, all right. So that's it for our game of the week. Next week, Niners play the Seahawks, and we'll talk about the actual game of the week at the end of the show. All right. So
can I actually add one little thing?
Yes, go ahead.
There's one little thing that I thought actually bother a little bit. Was it McKinnon? Was he the one that had that really nice run back on the kickoff?
Oh no, that was Trent Cannon.
Okay, so I mean, good run back, but there's something he did. There's something he didn't do at the end that bothered me. That I think could have given him easily a few more yards or more. And I felt like that he tried. I think the kicker took him out or almost forced him out.
Yeah, he did.
And it just, and whether it's the kicker or not, my point's true, but it's even more so true for the kicker. Is he kept going for the sideline? He tried to go for the sideline, and I've seen this before, and I've thought about this: is guys why aren't they at the last second just putting on the brakes or just trying to steam through the guy and run him over in the other direction? Because at least if you hit either head on, even if you have less momentum, right, your mass times velocity vector, you're gonna still have extra yards. Even if you lose that battle, at least you're gonna have more yards as you guys are coming together and hitting and then going out of bounds. But if you do win that battle, you can get even more yards. Who knows what the guy who knows what the guys behind you? And so that kind of play, which happens a lot, especially with the kicker or punter, how do you not try to just run through him? You're going to get more yardage than being forced out of bounds. So that actually kind of bothered me, and I see that a lot. I'm just like, and you get more power when you're slowing down. You can engage your feet with the ground. He obviously, it was like tried to outrun him, and he couldn't. He just kind of ran out of bounds. But if he had slowed down and really engaged, or really tried to throw his shoulder to the kicker, he would have gotten more yards. It could have been at least a couple, if not 5 or 10. So last thought.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I've wondered that too. But to his credit, he was the spark that even gave the Niners a chance to come back.
That is true.
We had nothing going on before that happened.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, you're right. He should learn from that situation. All right. So segment number 2, who wrecked face this week? We actually, Joseph, we never divided this out before the show started, which we usually do. Do you want to cover quarterbacks and rushing, and then I can do receivers and defense?
True. You'll have to add Cousins, though. I don't have Cousins on.
Okay. And then I actually had a got wrecked. Did you have a got wrecked this week?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, and I think we probably have the same one.
Yeah.
Probably.
Now, do you have the whole offense?
No, it's a one player.
Okay,
but it might be the player on that offense. So I guess we'll just save it until we get there, and then we'll both say it at the same time. So yeah, why don't you do quarterbacks and rushing, and then I'll do receivers and defense.
Okay. So first up, Josh Allen. I don't think we had Josh Allen in week 1, did we? I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
But he certainly was on our show last year. Him and Russell Wilson, I felt like were under the most. 32 of 43, 358 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a rushing touchdown. 5 total touchdowns, no interceptions, over 360 total yards. And then Matthew Stafford putting a beat down on Tom Brady. Man. 27 of 38 for 343 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. And that's a 134 passer rating. And that's 12.7 yards per completion. Pretty solid. So, yeah, good job to him. Stafford looked good. Man, watch out for the Rams. And then
they're okay.
Yeah, which I will have to take back. I think I put them out as my flop. I didn't mind them being good, but I think I wasn't buying into the hype.
Yeah, you weren't really a believer.
I wasn't. I'm wrong. I'll admit I'm wrong. After 2 games, let alone 3, or 3, let alone 2, I'm wrong. The Rams are legit, and watch out for them.
It's not
So,
the Joseph. It's not the Raiders anymore. It's the Rams now.
um, and then the Browns rushing, which this is the first time they've been on here either. Last year, I think, or 2 years ago, one of those, they just wrecked the Cowboys. They had like 300 rushing yards. It was ridiculous. Not as good as last time, but this is still good enough. And when you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, man, Kareem Hunt is athletic. The way he was moving to extend the yardage on these plays was great. So the Browns had 215 rushing yards on a 5.1 average. Only 1 touchdown, but that's a lot of yards on a good average. Their 2 top rushers had more than 80 yards. Well deserving. Kudos to them. I think you're up, right?
Yeah, and I had Kirk Cousins in there too. So his stat line was 30 for 38 for 323 yards, which is a 79% completion percentage, actually better than both Josh Allen and Matt Stafford. But he had 3 touchdowns and a 128.4 rating and no rushing. So it's a little bit less. It jumps off the page a little bit less, but it's more efficient and about the same number of yards, just 1 less touchdown. But if you watch the game though, he just really knew how to pick apart that defense. It was, and they came back from behind too. Seattle had an early lead, and then they came back from behind. So he orchestrated a challenging win at home, to be fair, but it was a challenging win. So I guess the Bills played Washington, so they probably had the easiest opponent of the 3.
Yeah.
But still, Josh Allen's performance was A plus.
Yeah, definitely at Cousins beating the Seahawks, and then maybe a honorable mention because I kind of like this little extra discussion where we kind of figure out who should or shouldn't be on RecFace. I kind of like this now. Is Justin Herbert? I mean, on the road beating the Chiefs, but for me though, the efficiency wasn't there and the yardage was a little down. But 4 touchdowns and no picks is great, and then beating Mahomes on the road. So if he had just bumped up those yards and percentage points a little better, he would be on there. But I don't think he made the cut. But he's close.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I was looking at him too, but I thought, he's a little bit below. I wouldn't say he had a good game, but I wouldn't say he wrecked face.
Yeah,
which
I
is
agree.
our standard. So I also had Ezekiel Elliott in here for rushing. I'll just read his stat line real quick. This is kind of an iffy one, I guess. 17 carries for 95 yards, which doesn't jump off the page, but it is a 5.6 average with 2 touchdowns plus 3 catches on 3 targets for 21 yards. So that's probably like a Herbert equivalent on the rushing side. But then on the receiving side, we have Devontae Adams, unfortunately, 12 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown, and then Mike Williams had 7 receptions for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. By the way, sorry to divert us slightly, but did you see the hit on Adams from Jimmy Ward?
Yes. How is that not called? And oh my goodness.
I saw so many people defending that as a clean hit. Like, not Niner people, but just people in general defending that as a clean hit.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, are you kidding me? He didn't lead with his helmet, but there was definitely, like, obviously helmet-to-helmet contact on the replay. And they made a comment about how the judge stands behind the play, so he didn't have visibility to see what happened, and so he didn't throw the flag.
Yeah, that's fair. He's
like,
the way.
Ugh.
Yeah, so it was a very violent hit. I don't think his intent was to be violent, but it resulted in a very violent hit.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so here we go on defense. Check this out. Miles, I'm going to get suspended for stomping on people. Garrett had 7 tackles, 4.5 sacks of Justin Fields, 4 tackles for loss, and 6 QB hits.
Oh my goodness.
Against what I think, and mark my words on this one, against one of the worst one of the worst team performances of the year in the Bears this last week. If we go back and look at the worst performances of teams, especially on offense, this is going to rank at the top, if not the top, of this season. I don't know how you can get much worse than this, and that's why I say I have a feeling this might be Joseph's got wrecked. But let me read off one more defensive player, and then we'll get to that. Tavon Campbell, cornerback for the Chargers, again against a good Chiefs team. He had only 4 tackles, but he had 2 passes defended and 2 forced fumbles.
Nice.
In
That's
that
legit.
game.
If you have, dude, you look at historical stats or just last 15, 20 years, I think 4 to 5 forced fumbles is good for a defensive player.
Oh,
So
yeah. For sure.
You get 2 in one game. So yeah, how about this? I am 99.9% sure that the same offense is the same. I'm 100% sure actually. So how about you read the player and then I'll give the rest of the context with the offense.
Okay, that sounds good. That's a good way to double team it. Or tag team it. So Justin Fields, rookie. Listen to the stat line. This is gonna light your socks on fire. 6 passes, or sorry, 6 receptions, 20 passes, 68 yards. Okay. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Was sacked 9 times, which isn't always going to be his fault, but still. A 41.3 rating, and then he had 3 carries for 12 yards to sprinkle a little bit of sugar on top of that just nothing burger that he put up last week.
So let me go to this. I want to see really quick. I want to see his quarterback rating. That also his quarterback rating was a 6. 50 is average, folks. 50 is average. So, okay, yeah, let's get the context here. This is amazing. So, yeah, the wrecked face is the Bears offense. So listen to this. The combined 112 yards. But it's even actually worse than that. I'll get to that in a minute. So 112 yards because the team for rushing, 13 carries, 46 yards, so 3.5 average. Yeah. So combined 112 total yards. But here's the thing. Total yards include sack loss yards. His sack loss yards was 67. The effective passing yards was 1 yard. So their team yards was 47. They had 47 total yards. I don't even know.
You don't even know how that happens?
47 total yards? I feel like Tim Tebow could play quarterback right now and could do better than that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of guys that can come out and play quarterback right now and do better than that. That's awful. That is really awful. When was the last time we had a game with 9 sacks, like against one team?
Or think about it. The Bears had 5 sacks too. So this game alone combined, this game produced 14 total sacks.
Yeah, I think that's the highest we've seen in a few years.
Oh, dude, I mean, 9 in a game total is a lot, but 9 on one team and 14 total, that's ridiculous.
And can you believe the Bears were winning that game at the end of the first quarter, 3-0? I mean, they didn't even have enough yards for the whole game to get down the field to kick a field goal. How did that happen? Oh, dude, my goodness.
Let's move on.
All right. So our next segment is commentators say the darndest things, and I was watching the second half of the Seahawks-Vikings game, and as Kirk Cousins was just administering this beatdown on the Seattle secondary, one of the commentators said, Who's going to make you pay? The executioner, Kirk Cousins.
Wow.
He's the latest. It's like they've turned on Russell Wilson, and now everybody's just talking about Kirk Cousins. Like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Not sure what's going on there. Okay, so our next segment is tricky picks. Joseph, do you have the tricky picks ready for the week?
Yeah, so first of all, our scores last week.
Oh yeah. How do we do?
So you were all right, 1 second.
I'm gonna write this down because I don't have any of the previous records.
Yeah, so you were, and I'll give the context in a minute, but you were 2-1, and I was 1-2.
Okay.
So for McCaffrey, right, will be more McCaffrey's total yards plus rushes plus targets for Houston passing yards in the first 3 quarters. Well, McCaffrey got injured in like the first half, so we both lost that one. And then will be greater for the Bucks Rams, the scores on each team's first drive for both halves versus the team's total touchdowns and turnovers. Both teams, I think, were 3 and outs on their first half, but in the second half, they both scored touchdowns. Now, they actually had 7 total touchdowns, I believe. So we could have tied, but we both got it because they scored more points. And then, yeah, the deciding one, Joe Burrow, over under 4.5 combined sacks and turnovers. And there were, I think he had no turnovers or only 1 turnover. So, and no sacks, I believe. That was way under.
No sacks, really, huh?
Let me quick.
I'll check the stat line on that. So yeah, no sacks on him.
Did he have any picks? He had 1 pick, I think.
He had 1 pick.
Yeah, so no sacks and only 1 pick. So yeah, way under on that. It was kind of surprising. Now the tricky picks for this week, I like these. We're going all out this week, guys. We're going all out. There's only 2 games, but I have 9, 10 picks here. So we never fully agreed on this, and we had a little playful debate on the show last year about how we would do this. Meaning, when I have these super picks per game, we round it up and it counts as 1 mega point, but still worth 1, or does each one count as points? What do you like? I'll ask you, Jim. What do you like better? So I have 2 games here. Do you want to do 1 point per game? And if it's divided into multiple picks, we just take with the best record and give them the 1 point? Or do you want to make each question worth 1 point?
Let's just make each question worth 1 point.
All right. Well, then we have 10 points here, 9 points here, but I like it.
All right. Let's rip through them.
All right. And I've already answered all mine, so you don't have to wait. So, Bucks Patriots, right? First time Tom Brady, Timmy Slim Jim, calling him out for years. He's back in Foxborough. And what's going to happen? So here we go. Mac Jones. Will Mac Jones be sacked at least twice and concurrently have at least turnovers?
Yes.
All right. Same. Will the margin of victory be greater than 15 points? 16 or more?
Yes.
Same. I think Bucks are just going to put a beat down. Tom Brady, will he have 350 passing yards and 4 total?
Yes.
All right, same. All right, now this is where it gets fun. Jags, Bengals. You gotta be asking yourself, why are you picking Jags, Bengals? That doesn't make sense. Where's the logic in that? Well, 2 years ago, should I say 2 seasons ago, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence played against each other. The college national championship.
Oh, gross.
Oh, don't worry, it gets better. And So I was waiting. I don't worry. I still have my comments for that. And it was one of probably the most anticipated college playoff games. Trevor, were Clemson, were they going to repeat, right? Trevor Lawrence with the Clemson. Joe Burrow had the greatest college quarterback season of all time. And was he going to continue that? And they met and they played, and they were both respectively the number 1 picks, right? So Joe Burrow was the number 1 pick 2 years ago, and then Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 pick last year. So I figured, hey, 2 number 1 picks the last 2 years, that's already worthy of a tricky pick. And then they played against each other. The last time they played against each other was in the championship. Oh man, this has to be a tricky pick. So here you go. Here's 5, 6 questions. Go. So, will the leading passer, whoever it is, have at least 325 passing yards?
No.
Same. Will the leading passer have at least the passing touchdown?
No.
Said yes. Will Burrow have 50 or more passing yards and at least 1 more total touchdown than Lawrence? So it could be 1 more rushing or passing, 50 more passing yards than Lawrence.
Yes.
Same. Will Lawrence? Listen, I worded this one weird. So, basically, will Lawrence have equal or tied? Will he have more or tied number of turnovers with his passing touchdown? So option A is more turnovers or tied. Option B is more passing touchdowns.
Wait, which player is it?
Trevor Lawrence.
I'm gonna say he's gonna have more turnovers.
Okay, I said the same. This last one here. This one's a tricky one, but that's why it's called Tricky Picks. I'll give the context, which but I don't really care. Will Joe Burrow be responsible for 17 points or more? Thinking, well, that's a weird number. What does that even mean? Well, this is indirectly connected. When they last played each other, the LSU Tigers put a beat down on the Clemson Tigers. Yes, they have the same college mascot. That was another level of irony. So the Tigers put a beat down against the Tigers. It was bad. They won by 17 points. So I know. So was this good opportunity for me to talk college football on the show? Absolutely. Did I take it? Absolutely. As John Gruden would say on Monday Night Football, Jeremy, he would say that I'm being opportunistic. So I am being opportunistic.
How dare you poison that beautiful football word with talk of college football?
Oh, man. So I just got to give the rundown here. So in that college football game, listen to this. Trevor Lawrence, rushing stats. Trevor Lawrence, 10 rushes, 49 yards, 1 touchdown. Pretty good. Joe Burrow, 14 rushes, 58 yards, 1 touchdown. That's pretty good. Good rushing performances on each end. Passing. Trevor Lawrence, 18 of 37. 234 yards, no touchdowns, no picks.
But is it as yuck as what you're talking about?
That's for you to decide, my friend. Joe Burrow, 31 of 49, 463 passing yards and 5 touchdowns and no picks. Oh my goodness. So, question, will Burrow be responsible for 17 points or more? Okay, what does that mean? Well, each person gets 6 points for whatever touchdown they score, passing or rushing. And then they get 2 points for passing or rushing a 2-point conversion that they're responsible for. And then in the opposite, there's the minus 6 points. Hurt them if they throw a pick 6 or they fumble the ball and it's recovered for a touchdown. So, for example, let's say Burrow has 12 points, right? That's all he has. And all that Trevor Lawrence does, throw a pick six. That would put it at 18. So will Burrow be responsible for 17 or more points using those definitions?
Yes.
All right, I said no. I'm glad we got a little bit of diversity in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 8 questions total. So 8 points are on the line. I like it.
Alrighty. Sounds good to me. Okay, so that concludes our Tricky Pick segment. And we're going to move on to segment number 5 now. And this is our news segment of the night. So this segment is called Do You Believe It? And the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask Joseph a series of 8 questions, and we're going to pause after each question to give him a chance to answer. And the questions are structured as follows. I'll ask him a question which will entail some piece of data about how the season has gone so far for either a player or a team, and possibly a unit like offense, defense, special teams, etc. And he will respond with whether he believes that data is indicative of a trend that will continue in that direction, or if it's inflated or wrong or will reverse. So another way is saying, like, does he buy it, right? Does he buy the data? Does he believe that it's going in that direction? So if that doesn't make sense, I think it'll make sense once I start asking the questions. Okay, so the first question is, Joseph, are the Panthers, who have a 3-0 record, are the Panthers for real?
Ooh, a little bit, yeah, I think so. Now McCaffrey needs to come back. Right, he injured. I think he sprained his hamstring. That's probably my guess. Going to be on the magnitude of 1 to 3 weeks. He didn't pull it. I don't think he tore it. So, but that could be a tricky one. Those of you who've done something to your leg, ooh man, even sprain. So, with McCaffrey, I'm going to say, kind of yeah. Darnold seems to be liking it. Maybe the Jets. There was a lot of funny talk about on some YouTube comments about the Jets being the problem, right? They ruin people's careers. So, maybe don't. Yeah. So I'm gonna say kind of yes. I think maybe these answers or these questions are good to answer in terms of like a scale. Like those employee surveys they give you. How much or whatever. How much do you agree?
Or how satisfied are you on 1 to 5 or whatever?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say like, yeah. So like yes, kind of yes, no, kind of no. So I'm gonna say kind of yes.
Okay. All right. So my next question is, do you believe that the Steelers' struggle is going to continue?
Oh, fortunately, yes.
And for reference for the listeners, the Steelers are currently 1-2 and just lost to the Bengals.
Yeah, I think so. Injuries are not helping them, but that's still has to be so that still has to be considered. And yeah, I don't know if they can get it together enough to really, if they're going to get it together to make the playoffs, they have to get it together like in the next week or two, because they're in a tough division. I would say the second best division in the league, your division, and the AFC general has got a lot of good teams that are fighting for that wild card spot. So I think they're out of the division race, to be honest. And if they don't get it together in the next week or two, they'll be out of the playoff race.
Okay. The next question: are the Broncos for real? And they are also a 3-0 team.
So who have they played so far? They played the Jets last week, right?
Yes, great question. I'm glad you asked. because their situation is a little bit different than the Panthers situation. So let me find them. They are, where are you, Broncos? There you are. So, here are their games. Giants win 27-13. Jaguars win 23-13. Jets win 26-0.
I mean, that's two of the worst 3 teams and 3 of the worst 6 teams like that. So, so they have a good defense. They have a good defense still, and they have some weapons. I don't know if Teddy Bridgewater is the guy, but he's not the worst thing. So when I hear is 3-0 for real, what I think is, okay, can they squeak out 9 or 10 wins? Quickly look at their schedule. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, they can squeak out maybe 9 or so, but I'm gonna say mostly no, because for that to be real, I feel like 3-0 should be like, hey, these guys can really compete, and they're in a decent division. But I'm gonna say mostly no on that, and it's because they have played 3 of the worst teams in the league. Now, in contrast, though, the Panthers did a similar thing. They played the Texans and the Jets, and their Saints game was at home. So the Panthers are actually in a similar kind of situation, but I think that they're a little better off.
Okay. Fair enough.
We'll see.
Okay. Do you believe that Trevor Lawrence's performance so far is indicative of his season-long performance?
If he cannot be protected, yes. So that's kind of some mutual blame there. I'm really realizing, I've known this and discussed this, but I think seeing Brady at his age doing what he's doing, and just seeing the Dolphins, like this last game, we could talk about that. Like Brissett had at least 2 or 3 credible escapes from being sacked, even if they ended up being incomplete passes. He almost had, I think, intentional grounding, I believe, once, or he avoided it, I believe. Like, if you protect the quarterback and you have some weapons to throw to, I'm really of the belief that you throw an average quarterback in there and you're going to get results. You could have the best quarterback, and if he's not getting protected, but and not Lamar Jackson who can scramble, but how many Lamar Jacksons are there? It's not going to matter. So if he's protected, then Lawrence is going to start improving. He did make some good throws. I watched the highlights. He did make some good throws. He does have an arm, and he is athletic. And we've seen, and we've been so critical of rookie quarterbacks over the coming years. It's ridiculous. They used to sit behind the starter for several years, and get a chance. And now it's like, if they don't succeed in the first year, it's like, bust. They're done. So I don't. As long as he's protected, I don't think it's indicative. And if he's not protected, it doesn't matter if who it is. Like, you have to have a decent enough offensive line.
Okay. Next question is: do you believe that Tom Brady is shaping up to have a 45 to 50 touchdown season?
So I'm going to say yes and no. That sounds like contradiction, but we need to consider the factor of the 17th game. So,
actually, yeah. So real quick, so I was thinking about that. I realized that after I wrote these questions, because some of these deal with like season stats, and I was still thinking in terms of 16 games. So why don't we, for tonight, answer the question as if it's 16 games, and then for future ones, we'll take into account the 17th game.
Fair enough, yeah, because that definitely changes it. So what's he at right now in terms of complete percentage, touchdowns, interceptions?
Okay, so Tom Brady stat line. He has 10 touchdowns and 2 picks after 3 games.
So that's just over 3 a game. 3 a game gets you 48. Oh man. I'm gonna say no. And I think he'll get to the high 30s, low 40s. I think that I want to say, oh, Brady got exposed, be over dramatic. But like the Rams, I mean, you put pressure on Brady, you really frustrate him. You give him a pocket to stand in long enough to brush his teeth, like he said before, then he's gonna do some damage. So, they're in a decent division, and I think they have some big games coming up. I'll quickly look while I'm talking. They have some big games coming up. So based on the 16 game schedule, I'm going to lean towards 45 is quite a bit. I mean, 45 plus over 40 has only happened, I think, 11, 12 times ever amongst like 6 guys ever, 7 guys. So I'm going to lean towards no when I consider that.
Okay. All right.
And really quickly, let's see. Defense. So at Eagles, Dolphins, at Eagles, Bills. Yeah, so actually, their remaining schedule actually is a little softer. So, but 45 still. I'm gonna say no. Well, mostly no.
Okay. You sort of already answered this one, so I think this will be quick. Do you believe that the Rams are for real?
Yes. I was wrong. Rams are for real, and they're the only team I think that has a chance at 14 and maybe 13 wins. It might be some 13, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay. 2 more questions. Do you believe that Kirk Cousins is on pace to have his career high touchdowns this season? And just to give reference on this one, so Kirk Cousins currently has 8 touchdowns and no picks after 3 games, which means he is on pace to have. Let me do the math, and let me whip out my TI-83 Plus here and do some math real fast. So if he so to multiply that by 6, yeah. So I base that on a 16 game season, would be 42 touchdowns. And his career high is
31?
35 in last year. Actually, he was 35 touchdowns, 13 picks last year.
So do you think in a 16 game season, do you think he'll have more than 30? So more than 35, 36? Ooh, man, that's like right at that number of like a pretty solid man. 36 is a good amount of touchdowns. I'm gonna, man. You know what? I'm gonna have to throw another option here because we have the yes and the mostly yes and the no and the mostly no. I'm gonna have to have like a neutral. I'm gonna have to have.
Okay,
I
so
don't know.
this is I don't know.
That's a tough one. That if the number was like 31, 32, I would say mostly yes, possibly even yes.
Okay.
But 35 is like, by definition, that's the over under. I think that's the difficult part.
All right. So the last question, this might be a little bit more challenging, so I'll try to help give you some reference on this. Do you believe that the Chiefs' defense has taken a step back? And to provide the reference, so the Chiefs are currently 1-2, and they currently have 92 points scored and 95 points scored against. They have played the Browns, the Ravens, and the Chargers.
Yeah, so they've played, 2 top AFC teams and an up-and-coming Chargers team that I think you and I both had as a sleeper, right?
Yes, I think
so. That, and at least one of those games was on the road. The Ravens game was on the road. So, epic. So that's got to be considered, right? That is a tough one actually for that. When I think of the Chiefs, I don't think of a team that has a balanced overall good defense. I think of a team that has playmakers. So I don't think they have a bad defense. I'm gonna be somewhere between the middle and slightly no, because I think the issue is more offensive. My opinion, just from what I see, I haven't seen everything they've done, is that from what I've seen, there might be something off with either the chemistry or the execution on the offense, but I could be wrong.
Okay. And
That's a good
even with
question.
that, they're still scoring 30 points a game. So,
Yeah.
not bad.
So, feedback. I like that segment. Good segment. And those are some good questions. Got some good ones there.
Cool. Glad you liked it. And we'll see how it kind of evolves over the coming weeks. I told Joseph before the show that I think this is this kind of segment where we do it maybe after every 3 or 4 weeks, so that there's a chunk of data that we can look at and see how trends have changed or what new trends are emerging. It doesn't make sense to do it every week.
Yeah.
So, all right. So our final segment of the night is our predictions. And this last week, congratulations, my friend. You were 13-3.
I was?
Yes.
Oh.
So I was 10-6, and I know you were 13-3 because all 3 of our differences went your way. So, you picked Falcons over Giants, you picked Rams over Bucks, and you picked Vikings over Seahawks.
Yep, I knew that Vikings one was the one.
And you had also said if Tua plays, you're picking the Dolphins, but he didn't, so we both picked the Raiders.
Yep.
And picked up a win on that one. So we both got the win on that one. So I was 10-6, you're 13-3. Your overall record is 31-17, which is 64.6%. And I'm 28-20, which is a 58.3%. All right. So let's do our picks for week 4. I will start and then we'll alternate. So first game is Jaguars at Bengals. I'm going Bengals.
Same. Oh, but wait. Sorry, 1 second. We're supposed to try to do our talk after each other because the delay. This is where the delay, I think, shows up the worst. So.
At the end of the episode, yeah, it has been showing up the worst at the end of the episode. So I'll try to slow down my response a little bit, after Joseph says his words.
Okay. So I said same to the Bengals. Washington at Atlanta. I'm going Atlanta.
Okay, I'm going football team.
Okay.
So I'll highlight that one red. Texans at Bills. I'm going Bills.
Same. And then my apologies. I'm recording your picks while I'm doing this. So I need to go to my actual picks. I'm going off of memory here, and I want to go off of actual. So give me a second. Okay. I said Bills. So Lions at Bears. I mean, I had picked the Bears before, but after what we just saw, oh my goodness.
The egg that they laid.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're going to bounce back from that, and they're at home, but the Lions have been a little gritty, and you know what? That's a tough one. I'm going to go Lions. The Bears are going to bounce back, but I think that they're not going to bounce back enough. That was pretty bad, and Fields needs to prove himself. So.
Yep, same. I'm going Lions as well. Next game is Panthers at Cowboys, and conditional on this one, is McCaffrey still out?
I don't know, but do you want to make it conditional on him? Is it a close enough game?
Yeah,
for you?
for me this was Panthers win if McCaffrey plays. If not, I go Cowboys.
Okay, for me, I did not pick this game until I saw Monday nights, but then after that, the beatdown they put. Now I think that they're at home, pick the Eagles, okay, but I think being at home, and I think the fact that the Panthers have played some weaker teams, even with McCaffrey, I think the Cowboys can edge them out. So I'm going Cowboys.
Okay. All right, I will highlight that one red. And you're next.
Indianapolis Colts versus the Miami Dolphins. I'm going Dolphins. This one's a tough one. If it was in Indy, I'd lean Indy. But here's my reasons. They play on the road against the Raiders. I got to think that the Raiders at home are equal to better than the Colts on the road, relative to the Dolphins. And the Dolphins were gritty in that game. You know, Brissett, like they had a lot of mistakes. Like their offensive line was bad. My thinking is, you know what, Brian Flores is going to want to make improvements. And so the Dolphins are at home. They're playing a team that I think is of equal or lesser potential than the Raiders. And Brissett is going to have more opportunities to improve, and they're going to make adjustments. I think that's enough for me to be pretty much objective enough. And like I think this is like a 53-47, but I think the Dolphins have the favor.
Objective like the week that you picked Dolphins over Bills. No, I'm picking Dolphins also, and the Colts are 0-3 and exactly who I thought they were. So
they are who you thought they were.
Yes. Okay, next one, Browns at Vikings. This was one of the tougher picks. But I'm just by a hair gonna pick the home team Vikings on this one.
So I'm the same way. Picking Vikings, that was tough, but you know, at home, Cousins put on a good show, and you know, if they can get to the offensive line on Mayfield, that might cause some problems. So yeah, I agree. It's a close one. So we have Giants at Saints. Gonna go Saints, dude. How about what's up with Jameis Winston? He had another weird game of like 100-something passing yards, but I think 3 touchdowns and no picks or something. Like,
yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. It's weird. I don't know, but I'm going Saints also. The Giants are going nowhere this year. Titans at Jets. Titans.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be bad. yeah. Chiefs at Eagles. I'm going Chiefs. They'll do enough. They'll bounce back.
Same. Cardinals at Rams. This is another tough one because it's a division game. So this is pretty much as close to a pick'em as I can think of. But I'm gonna go Rams.
Yeah. So this is a tough one. What an epic game this could be, and I hope it is an epic game. I honestly don't know who I would give the slight edge to if you reverse the home and away. I feel like that this is a pick 'em either way, regardless of who's the home team. I'm going Cardinals. I like Kyler Murray. He has been playing really well, and I looked at their schedule. I think the Cardinals could also maybe win 13 games, but I don't know. And I feel like this is one of the few games in the Cardinals lineup. I did this the other day where it's like one of the few games in their lineup to where I think, okay, this is the one where they might have some problems. My methodology is going to be this for the following picks. Until Murray and the Cardinals show otherwise that they can't get it done and not going to play spectacular, I'm going to keep going Cardinals. I mean, Murray is going to be one of the best, if not already a top 5 quarterback of the league, and he's going to keep playing well, and he's got good weapons, and it's going to be one showdown of a game, but it's close. It's pick 'em, I agree, but until I see otherwise, I'm going with the Cardinals.
Okay. I think I already said I'm going Rams because I read off that one, right?
Yeah. So Seahawks Niners, man, this is a tough one. This is really tough. I think the pick would be obvious if it was in Seattle, but it's not. I feel like the Niners did enough against the Packers to convince me that they could squeak this one out. This is a pick 'em as well, but I'm going Niners.
So I'm going Niners also. I feel horrible about this game, and if the Niners do win, it is going to be a squeaker. Uh, but yeah, I'm pretty nervous, and this game is really consequential. Uh,
Yes. Next two are.
yeah. So, okay. Um, Ravens at Broncos. Um, you've always been more of a Broncos believer than me, Joseph. Uh, ever since the Peyton Manning days. Um, but I'm going Ravens. I think the Ravens they're not wiping the floor with everyone like they were in 2019, but they're still good, and I think they're better than the Broncos. So I think this will be a kind of grinded out type game, but I think the Ravens will pull it off.
Yeah, no, I'm going Ravens as well. Then we have Pittsburgh, Green Bay. I'm going Green Bay at home. Rodgers is playing well, and the Steelers, I don't think they got to get in gear. So Packers.
Okay, same with me as well. I was actually just curious. Oh yeah, it's Green Bay minus 6.5 is the line for that one.
I would take the over on that.
Yes, I would too. Bucks at Patriots. I think this will be interesting because I think the Patriots aren't as bad as maybe some people thought they were going to be, but I'm going to go Bucks. They're just
Same.
better.
Same. While I agree with that's fair what you said with the Patriots, but I just think that Brady is going to want to put a beat down on them, and I think they may even try to get into the head of Mac Jones, and yeah, that game can be ugly. If the over under on that was 11, I would take the over. Yeah.
It's minus 6.5.
Oh, that's embarrassing. Vegas, get it together. On you way. So Raiders, Chargers, good Monday night matchup actually. I'm going Chargers. Man, Justin Herbert picking off a win on the road. Yeah, and by the way, I have another comment. So
Yeah, I'm also picking Chargers. So we differed on 3. There was the Washington Falcons, Panthers Cowboys, and Cardinals Rams.
Cowboys.
And Panthers Cowboys may not be a difference depending on McCaffrey. So I said if McCaffrey plays, I'm picking Panthers. If he doesn't play, then I pick Cowboys, which you also picked.
Didn't we differ on Lions Bears? Did you go Lions or Bears?
I went Lions.
Never mind. So we have 2 picks, 2 differences, and 1 conditional.
Correct.
Okay. My last comment here is realizing Dolphins. I mean, I like Tua. I do, and I do think he can be the guy. But he needs to prove it this year to everyone. But giving him a fair chance, and do like him. But want to know who was drafted right after Tua could have got?
Tua was drafted in 2019 or 2020?
2019. So guess who was drafted right after him who could have got, and we didn't.
Herbert?
Yep. Herbert was drafted 6th. We could have gotten Justin Herbert. Oh, man. I mean, like I said, I think Tua can do it. I want him to do it. Who knows with chemistry what happens, but Dolphins got Justin Herbert. That's, yeah.
Dude, I just need to start seeing a lot bigger numbers out of Tua.
I know. No,
like he has to start putting together a stat line.
Yeah, I didn't think Herbert was going to be the guy out of college. I didn't really know anything about too much for Tua either. I don't think, but yeah, was proven wrong about that. And in fact, we could have had him. It hurts a little bit. I will admit, it hurts a little bit, but we'll see. But he does though. Tua needs to step it up. So we can have that discussion later about what happens if he doesn't. So.
All right. So as far as game of the week, I had kind of 2 that I felt like were good candidates. The first one is Cardinals at Rams, and then the second one, because we have not done either of those teams yet. And the second one was Browns at Vikings, because we've only done Browns, we have not done Vikings yet.
Yeah, I think Rams Cardinals, because we were thinking Bucks Rams from last week. Ended up going Packers Niners.
Right.
And I think it's hard. I mean, NFC West 3-0 teams. Yeah, I definitely would say Cardinals Rams on that one.
Okay. It's cool. Sounds good. All
Who
right.
knows?
So
Who knows, man? What happens? What happens if some of those are stinkers? And what happens if Titans Jets is good?
oh, then we're watching the Jets, man, who have the worst point differential in football. Okay. So did you have any last words?
Nope.
All right. So we went a little bit over time. Thank you for sticking with us. We had our special segment tonight. Had fun doing that. We will hopefully return to our closer to 1 hour, 8 p.m. Pacific format next week. But for this week, that is a wrap. If you did not fall asleep during tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. I typically upload on Tuesday evenings. So I don't have to upload anymore, although I may need to start doing it depending on this audio thing. But the live shows will go up automatically. So scratch what I said there. They're up live right away, or uploaded right away, so you can watch them right now if you wanted to. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.